Welcome everyone to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 152 here. Altai, your host, joined by your co-host, Mr.
Omer.
There he is.
Why can't I be the host and you be the co-host? Can't we both be co-hosts?
I think that's how it works, right? Co-host is equal host.
So what is special about 152? Last week we had 151 for all the Pokemon. Any special connotation to 152?
No, it didn't strike out to me this time. You know?
I think in two more podcasts. Wait, there's 52 weeks in a year, right? 52? So we're almost at like 3 years, right?
Yeah.
I remember last week we had a pretty difficult time surmising just how many weeks were in a year.
Why do I think it's 56? Is that cards in a deck?
No, that's 52 cards in the deck.
Yeah, okay, so
why is 54 sticking out to me? 54 is the one that's sticking out to me for some reason. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it's 52.
We gotta have this conversation off stream and then figure out the...
Yeah, this is better. This is better for off stream.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we embarrass ourselves too much, let's jump to that weekly raid, boys.
All right, this week we had a treat, guys. We had a treat in the form of a Kickstarter MMO. Now, usually these are treats in that they are just fun to laugh at, but this week we actually had a pretty good one. This one seems like fun. Let's see what's wrong with my... All right, so I'm gonna play the video here with no commentary, and then we can discuss what this reminds everyone of. Okay?
Okay. I mean, it's pretty obvious what it reminds us, but go ahead and show it off.
All right, that's enough. So basically, guys, Temtem is the name of this MMO. It's on Kickstarter. It's being developed by a Spanish studio in Madrid, and it's basically Pokemon the MMO. This is so much like Pokemon. It's insane. Some people have mentioned on Reddit that even like things like the shadows on the ground when you're walking and stuff are like so similar to Pokemon. So what do you think, Omer? I am excited.
For the record, the studio's named Crema. They're based in Madrid. So you called the studio Madrid.
Did I?
Based there.
Yeah.
But this is very obviously Pokemon inspired. They very clearly say they're inspired by Pokemon. But I think, and the game has already raised well over their funding requirement. They were aiming for $70,000 on Kickstarter. They're over $120,000. I expect they'll get over $200,000 easily by the time the campaign ends. And I'm very excited as well. There's very rarely a time where I see a Kickstarter game, and I'm kind of like, all right, this is actually feasible. Two, this is not a scam, but there's a real studio behind this. So it kind of checks off a few of the check marks for me that it can actually happen. One, and two, I think a Pokemon MMO is very obviously a good thing, something a lot of people were looking forward to for a long time. There's been a few fan-made Pokemon, like knockoff MMOs already, and they're actually really popular. So to see something with this kind of production value from a real studio, even though it's not being called Pokemon, it's basically Pokemon. If you see the Kickstarter page, even all the different types in the game, each Pokemon, I mean Temtem has up to 2 types with abilities that have a single type. So even a lot of the core mechanics are very much Pokemon inspired. And I remember the day I played Pokemon Red and Blue, Pokemon Yellow. Like these are the first Pokemon games. I think around that, shortly afterwards we started playing Ultima Online, our first 3 MMOs. And ever since we started playing MMOs, the thing I've really wanted for a long time was a Pokemon MMO. And I think Temtem is like, I've been waiting for that for a long time, and Nintendo just never delivered. So I guess because they never delivered, I guess these guys are going to make one, and I'm mega hyped for it. It looks awesome. I mean, everything about the Kickstarter page looks really polished.
Yeah, what impressed me the most, besides it oozes quality, like the art style, the characters, they look really good. But what impressed me the most was actually their timeline. This is gonna have a full-fledged campaign, like a story campaign. You can do co-op. Or then after that you can do casual battles with friends. There's gonna be a ranked battles as well, with some kind of ranking ladder. It's player housing is gonna be there, and all of this is gonna be done within 2 years of today. So May 2020 is a full release, not early access, full release. they're hoping to have an early access even before that. Let me find the timeline here. Where did I put it? Oh,
it's near the bottom. There's a lot of stuff.
There's so much stuff. Anyway, yeah, the first playable alpha is going to be in November of 2018. That's pretty fast.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So another thing is really exciting about this and a little bit different is, if you've ever played Pokemon, there's a lot of RNG in Pokemon. Basically with crits, with status effects. There's a good deal of RNG in Pokemon. It can be very frustrating. Now, I haven't really played too many of the Pokemon games recently. I have played, however, like the Pokemon Showdown, where you can play against friends online with like a random team of Pokemon, or you can make your own teams and whatnot, which is really fun. And it's very frustrating to deal with RNG. In this game, Temtem, they're actually removing almost all the RNG in the game. They're saying that it'll basically be 100% skill with zero RNG. All strategy and skills. I'm curious how that's going to end up working out because, the meta might develop pretty early on. But then again, I know Pokemon has quite a bit of meta as well, so we'll see how that ends up working out. They have a player housing system, open world areas. The game will not be free to play though, unfortunately. So it'll be some kind of buy to play model. And I think they said they might be launched for consoles as well. But it's pretty hard not to get excited for this. It looks pretty high quality. And Pokemon MMO, come on, that's such a odd. I'm surprised that Nintendo still hasn't done anything, quite like a Pokemon MMO, because it just seems like it will literally print money. It seems like the most obvious idea in the world, but they haven't done it yet.
Nintendo just doesn't get PC, but even if you guys are like hardcore Pokemon fans out there who like think this is like a huge ripoff or whatever, if this does okay, if at the very least it'll kind of nudge Nintendo, right? It'll show Nintendo there's an audience for this, so it might force Nintendo to make their own version. So I think it's a win-win, even if you think it's a total clone. Yeah. But it is a total clone though. Like look at this part, guys. So instead of Team Rocket, you got something called Clan Bel Soto. So this Clan Bel Soto is a shady and enigmatic organization. Nobody knows who the true leader might be, but some of the captains are here. It's just like Team Rocket. It's so funny.
So much of the game is so clearly inspired by Pokemon, from the types to the stories, to like the Pokemon designs to a degree, and I'm pretty sure they collect badges as well. So all the battles in this game are supposed to be 2v2 battles instead of the 1v1 battles that you use in Pokemon. The Pokemon did have team battles as well, but getting rid of the RNG should be pretty interesting. So it's actually skill based. There'll be a pretty robust breeding system as well. We don't know hype the game too much yet because obviously it's a Kickstarter game and we are always skeptical to a degree of Kickstarter games. But I'm more impressed with this Kickstarter than I've seen for basically any other Kickstarter we've talked on this podcast. So I'm wishing them well. I'm not going to back it. I kind of have a personal policy not to back really any Kickstarter game because it can be pretty sketchy. And I'll buy it when it comes out though, for sure.
Yeah. I think I want to wait for the pro release as well, but I did drop the link, so if you guys are interested, take a look. I think just the Kickstarter page itself, like they have these gifts everywhere. It's a really beautifully done Kickstarter. And I think my biggest fault with the game is perhaps that 2-year timeline is a little too ambitious. But the one way I can kind of see it working is they can literally copy all the stats for the Temtems, right? The Pokemon from Pokemon. So they have all the types, fire, nature, water, electric, right? So they literally have all the moves and all the stats. Because if you see one of these gifts, it says something like, his defense fell, right? Pukey's, Pig used this move, and this guy's, defense fell. So they can literally copy the technicals from Pokemon and just change the names. And they got they have a full game mechanic that's tested already and well established. Done. All they got to do is change the art. That's it.
Yeah, I'm hyped for it. There's a Steam page already up for it too. So
yep, it's already on Steam.
It doesn't really make it any more legitimate, but there is a Steam page out there for it. And I want to play it, but really not much we can do until November of 2018. Later this year, we'll at least be able to play some kind of alpha build for it. And I guess we'll kind of know from the alpha when there's any real progress being made or not. But the videos themselves look pretty good. Very often games will say, "Oh, we won't go on Kickstarter till we show gameplay," in quotes. And unfortunately, the gameplay we've seen from like Chronicles of Elyria and like Astro Creation were very like mediocre gameplay. I just show people running around like in the Unreal Engine world. Here, I feel like we can see some actual gameplay, some more gameplay being shown on this Kickstarter page than many of the other Kickstarter MMOs out there. So definitely impressed.
Yeah, and I like the fact that I mentioned this in a weekly raid, guys. Often what you get on these Kickstarter MMOs is an idea. You get pitched an idea, and the idea is basically, we're going to do everything you've ever wanted in MMO. Like, we're going to have like this real-time combat, 1,000 versus 1,000, crafting, this, that, construction, sieges, player, everything. But these guys, are basically taking a very well-known, established idea, right? Pokemon, you run around, you walk around collecting, these turn-based battles, which are simple to, make. So they're not promising the world. They're promising a very well-established, gameplay loop, just online. So the narrowing of focus, I think, is what excites me because it could actually happen the way they pitch it.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough. Narrow focus. They're not promising the world. They have a blueprint that works. Like you can take all the inspiration from Pokemon, all the gameplay stuff Pokemon proves works, and literally just replicate that with some online MMO elements. That's it. That's all you have to do. Whereas when you try to make something so grand as Chronicles of Elyria, or as ambitious as the creation of Star Citizen, you're promising the world. You don't know. It's kind of a blank roadmap. The roadmap for Temtem is there. The design blueprint already exists and it already works. And the scope isn't really that large. So narrow focus actually makes this, very viable.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it makes it affordable too. You don't have to spend 180 million and then keep asking for more. You can just spend a couple million, bada bing, bada boom, get it out there.
Yeah. All right, I think we should move on. There's two stories that are worth mentioning. We can rag on Bless a bit because we played the game this Friday, so maybe we should talk about that first. And there's also Final Fantasy XIV related patches came out, which is mega exciting, which I want to talk about. But maybe we should talk about Bless because we did play that just recently.
Okay, so we had a whole host of problems, and I believe just this week, right? Before we did our Grand Fest Friday, they dropped a huge patch that basically cut everyone's damage by 50 to 70%, right?
Yep.
And we complained that the game was too easy, especially dungeons. The first two dungeons you could have soloed before the damage drop, and we kind of found that hilarious. But what's even more hilarious is how this idea that you can just, in the middle of a live game, cut damage by 70%. Right. It feels like they're doing alpha daily, wipes, builds. Like this is...
I can't on this slide, though, again, because you're kind of stating this in a very rational, calm voice, because let that number sink in for a moment, okay? You're playing a game that's out already with thousands of players online, right? And they literally drop a nerf on June 1st that across the board nerfs every single class's damage by 50 to 70%. So my spells that were hitting for 1,200 prior to June 1st are now hitting for 350 to 400. The same spells, the same cast time. And look, I actually agree with the nerf. The damage numbers never made sense from the get-go. But to drop that magnitude of a nerf literally across the board for every single class in the game is unheard of. Like, that is insane. This is a real company for a live service for a game. This is not, pre-alpha. This is at least you can pay for the you can pay for the game now, and there are no more wipes. That is mind-blowing. 50 to 70% across the board for every single class. Makes no kind of sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. In fact, I think you should. But the thing is, even with those nerfs, it's not that. What's bizarre is the way they did the nerfs, because it seems like such a weird solution to a different kind of problem. Because I made a video actually kind of highlighting just how much easier Bless is on the Steam version than the Russian version. So maybe you can show off a bit of that video on there. I just linked it to you, but it's actually a massive difference, because I know in the Russian version of the game, which we played with, with Gumby, Matt, and me, and Altai, 4 of us would do this the first dungeon in the game, and we wiped 3 times to the first boss. We had to kite the boss around the room, spamming potions, spamming heals, basically using all our basic MMO skills at work to defeat the boss. And after the third pull, we did it. Whereas in the new Steam version of the game, you can still solo the boss. Even with this recent nerf, you can still solo the boss very easily. So it's not like nerfing the damage across the board accomplished anything by making the game more difficult. It didn't. It really just made it a little bit slower paced, a little harder to get to the late game. Because what they did also was they increased player HP a bit to make up for the damage nerf. So the dungeons still aren't too difficult. It's bizarre because they didn't really fix any problem. I agree with the nerf in principle because it just felt weird to like 4-shot the boss of a dungeon and solo it. That always felt kind of bizarre, but it didn't make it challenging. So they're kind of in the middle now between like challenging, like brain dead easy, and challenging, which is weird because I'd rather like not be in the middle. I'd rather go a little bit more towards challenging, because at least if they want to go the design philosophy of making it really easy and adding hard content later, they can do that. That's the model that World of Warcraft uses, Final Fantasy XIV uses. Basically, any MMORPG has basically brain dead easy content early on, and it gets more challenging later on if you want to attack the hardcore content. Now having really slow content doesn't really do anything, because it's not challenging or necessarily brain dead easy. It's just still easy. It just takes longer. So I don't know what they were trying to do with it.
Yeah, it's absurd. The problem was not the speed; it was the ease. So, for example, if you want a game where you can like 5-shot a boss, well then that boss has to be able to 1-shot you. If you if if it lands one single skill shot on you, it's gonna be able to kill you, right? If you don't move out of the red circle that's moving too fast, you just die in one hit. So that would still be fast, but at least challenging, right? But like you said, what they did is they just lowered everyone's damage, but they didn't actually make the fight any harder. So now instead of taking 5 shots to kill this boss, I watched you would take like 10 minutes to kill it, but it still couldn't kill you. It just kind of wailed at you, slowly.
Yeah, you just run around in circles, casting your spells, and it's really weird. It's just a bizarre experience.
It's total amateur hour. Like you'd expect this kind of balancing from like really early days WoW private server. When they had none of the scripts ready and the boss would just wail on you with none of its skills. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like total amateur hour. So it's kind of silly.
And amateur hour kind of extends beyond that because again, this kind of weird across the board nerf is unheard of. Like I said, I can't think of any other game that even came close to this, right? And what's weird is they prefaced it by saying basically the damage numbers weren't what we intended, which is such a bizarre excuse because you can't really have an excuse like that because they weren't what you intended, but you didn't catch it in like any form of internal testing. This wasn't like a minor difference. This was like for you to reasonably nerf damage by 70%, it means you accidentally or unintentionally buffed everyone's damage across the board by 300+%. Because it's only when you nerf, if you increase by 300%, then nerf it by 70%, you get to where we are today. So you must have unintentionally buffed everyone's damage across the board by 300%. That's not like unintentional. That was clearly a design decision, which is really weird that they said it was like, it was higher than we intended. No, it wasn't. There's no way that was intended.
Yeah, that's a total lie. I agree. Again, it just reeks of like a total amateur hour. But surprisingly, despite everyone saying they're getting refunds, which I'm sure a lot of people are, it's actually still doing pretty well on Steam. Here's some Steam charts.
Over 20K players right now, yeah.
Yeah, well, 24-hour peak is to over 20K, 16, almost 17K at this moment. Those are pretty good numbers. That puts them on up there on Steam. Despite all this problems, people still want to play a new MMORPG. We talked a bit about on the podcast and on the Bless stream as well, which is it's a good sign for the industry. It shows people still want to play this. But their amateur hour kind of extends beyond just like the weird balancing issues and the optimization problems, because there was a dupe problem in the game's early access the first like 4 days or so, which kind of went unchecked, which is kind of bizarre because the duping problem existed on the international version of the game as well. So it's weird that they couldn't fix that at launch. But so the way they handle the duping issue is actually pretty bizarre, and it makes no kind of sense. It reminds me of a Chinese MMORPG because what happened was they put something on Steam saying basically if you abuse the dupe bug like once or twice, you get like a 1-day ban, right? If you abuse the dupe bug like many times, you get longer banned. I'm trying to see if we can find the exact like Steam post because it's really bizarre. Because I think the worst penalty was if you abuse the bug, the duping, and did it more than 15 times, you get like a 15-day like temporary ban. Like, in what world do you get a temporary ban for duping? That's like an instant account ban. Like, in any sensible world, that would be an instant account ban. Because you're obviously exploiting the game. And, like, there's no way after 15 tries you're not doing it intentionally, So I cannot believe they did temporary bans for something so obvious like duping. That's like the biggest exploit you can do in a game. It could potentially ruin everything. And they said they were going to remove a lot of the duped items, but people are saying that after they logged in, they still have access to their duped items, or they were able to use their dupe items to like work on their crafting and stuff, and they still get to keep their characters. So it's really bizarre that like this shit was able to slide. That makes no sense. Yeah, and I said it before, but now it might be too late because it's been another week now. But right after that initial damage nerf, and around the time the dupe was coming out, they should just reset the servers. Like, it was so early on still that they could have just reset the servers, give everyone who had a character like a new title or something and just say, we're sorry, we got to do it big, there's a huge dupe bug, the damaging was, way off, we're starting over. That would have been the right move, I think. But instead, we got this hodgepodge, blob of a game going on now.
Right, so the wording actually on the official Steam page is saying, notice, duplication bug issue. We're able to identify the issue, and if anyone used the dupe less than 10 times, we'll issue them a warning. Seriously? Duping 10 times counts as a warning? And it's only if you dupe more than 10 times and they deem it deliberate will you block their access account 15 days. Come on. That's such nonsense. And I said it reminded me of a Chinese game because there's a game called Conquer Online, which has, I think, the funniest anti-hack policy I've seen in my life. Because on Conquer Online, on their official website, they say basically we take hacking very seriously. Cheating, botting, hacking very seriously. If you ever get caught for this stuff, you'll be banned instantly. And they also say, oh, by the way, if you get banned for cheating, if you pay us like $20, we'll unban you. The second time you get banned for cheating, the price goes to $40. The third time you get banned for cheating, contact us. Are you serious? Like, and they have the nerve to say they take cheating very seriously. You can't take cheating seriously if you pay to unban, if you accept money to unban people, or in the case of Bless, where you slap on the wrist for literally duping, or even I remember there was it Combat Arms, or there's a Korean shooter that unbanned all the hackers just to get more players to their game. These are not very strict anti-cheating policies. These are pretty insane.
It reminds me of well, remember this game is from Korea, and in Korea this actually happened. So during their financial crisis, when they were having a recession, their stimulus plan was to let all the businessmen who were in jail for bribery or fraud or corruption. Their stimulus was to let them all out. They pardoned all their businessmen. The corrupt business. They go make the economy bigger. You're free.
That's so weird that they would actually jump to that.
It's like the mentality is different over there.
So I guess they just let all the hackers out to get more players in that one Korean shooting game.
Exactly.
I think it might be worth sharing again. There's that short Bless meme, which is actually the funniest video I've seen all year. So I mean, it's I think pretty short. So let me drop that link as well. Sure. Just share that real quick because I think this really captures the entire Bless situation really well. And it is actually the funniest video I've seen literally all year. It's only a minute 40, and it's presented with no commentary. If you're an audio listener, I apologize in advance. It's only a minute 40, then we'll get right back to regularly scheduled programming afterwards. This is the best Bless meme I've ever seen.
I was cracking up too when I first watched it.
I died. This video literally killed me. I had to share it with everyone I knew, and it really captures the essence of the Bless shitstorm. And this will allow us to kind of move on after we see this beautiful video.
All right, here we go, boys.
Make sure they can see the text.
Abrí el restaurante que era el arroz. Y me llama el cocinero. Risita, ¿qué? Ve por la paellera. Venga, que las 2 de la tarde ya están aquí. Miren, bañador. En las chanclas. Todo despeinado porque no me dio tiempo nada ponerme las chanclas y el bañador. Voy a la playa, había subido la marea. Eso. Tú, había subido la marea con triple paella. Y la encontré porque estaba la paellera agarrada metida entre las piedras de chipiones del faro. Y cuando entro en el restaurante me ve el cocinero con una paellera y adentro la vende paellera. ¡Asómate! ¡Mira dónde llega el agua! Llegaba el agua hasta el restaurante. Había subido la marea. ¿Y tú? ¡Hay que hacer ahora! Con los 2 sacos de arroz. ¡Ay, llama para Sevilla! ¡Llama a Sevilla que traigo paella!
All right, there it is. And it's funny because it's so true. And you know what's funny? The funniest part? There are people on the Steam forums and on Reddit defending it. They're saying, guys, it's early access. You knew what you're signing up for. Of course it's not balanced, or of course they don't have this yet. First of all, this game has been in development since 2009. It's launched. It has 3 previous launches. Okay, so this idea they can't pull the early access card when the game is finished for years. They've had this game. They just chose, like this guy said, they chose to take content out and then break it and then sell it to us and then say we're going to give you the rest of the content later, even though we have it ready. So it makes no sense.
It's pretty inexcusable for that reason. And just all the memes in that video hit home. It's so much of the video. Even the guy crying was a funny jab at a different video of a streamer crying once they reach endgame, and there's literally nothing to do.
Yeah, that's true. Someone did cry on stream. It's some blonde guy. I forgot his name, but if you just search on YouTube or Google, guy crying over Blessed, I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah, if you search on YouTube, you'll find it. It's quite the meme. But yeah, we'll try to harp on Blessed too much. Hopefully they fix their shit. It's just still remarkable they have so many players online. So despite all the bullshit.
I do want to do the 3rd dungeon with you because that one I did it twice now. That one requires a tank, a healer, like actual mechanics. So I do want to show that one on stream at least once to show people that we are giving the mid game a chance there, the real dungeon a chance.
And I would have loved to see the Russian version of Blessed with the difficulty kind of make its way to the West, because I do think that that experience is truly unique. The experience of going through like early game dungeons that aren't like insulting your intelligence, right from the get go. There were no difficult mechanics in the Blessed, the Russian version of Blessed. Like the fight wasn't like super complex at all. Like it wasn't comparable to like WoW Mythic Rage or like even 597. It was still like, relatively easy. You get a full party, you have all the roles. There's very minimal mechanics, but it required a little bit of thinking. You couldn't just literally stand in the boss mechanics and eat everything and expect to survive. So that level of respect for players, would have been great to see in the Western version. And that personally disappointed me, though. That wasn't I don't really take off too many points against Blessed for that reason, because I realized that the design philosophy of making things brain dead easy is just the way it is nowadays. But that kind of just saddened me to see, and I think it would help the game stand out a bit more if it was a little more challenging early on.
Indeed.
All right, I think we can take it a little bit to Final Fantasy XIV. I know how much you love Altai when I bring that up, but a big patch just launched yesterday, and it has me quite gleeful actually. One of the few times actually that I've been really following Final Fantasy XIV on stream, because the last patch that launched last night basically introduced the latest, most difficult content of the game, which is the latest ultimate tier difficulty. So let me show you right now a stream right now. Streaming by the name of Mr. Happy is streaming some content right now for Final Fantasy XIV. I've been watching him. I've been watching Xenos and a few other streamers basically trying their hand at defeating the most difficult content in Final Fantasy XIV right now. The previous ultimate difficulty content came out a few months ago, more than a few months ago now, and it was cleared in 11 days. This basically launched, I think, this launched last night. We're going to see how long it takes these groups to clear this right now. So I think I looked at you right as this guy left the dungeon, unfortunately. But it's basically a challenge players to see how long it takes to defeat them. I can link you another stream as well. I've been watching these quite a bit. So these guys have been streaming this basically 12 hours straight right now, because it went live about 13 hours ago, and these guys are streaming like as the servers are going up basically. So it's pretty crazy to see the dedication already. People streaming 12 hours nonstop to clear this content. Now, obviously, content is not aimed at most players. This content is aspirational content, stuff we talked about in the podcast before, that maybe 1% of players will ever even attempt to clear. Probably less than that, honestly. I mean, the previous Ultimate, it was cleared by multiple groups now, at least like 20, 30, 40 groups probably cleared it. But in the grand scheme of the player base, it's less than like 0.5% probably. Maybe even much smaller than that.
Do you get anything for clearing these?
For the last one, you got basically weapon, like a weapon skin, very slightly better than the best weapon. It's very small improvements, right? And obviously, even what you got back then very quickly got eclipsed by new content. So it's not really for the utility of clearing the content. It's basically just for the bragging rights for doing it. And I almost never watch streams, but I've been watching these for hours, and
really?
It's very I know I don't know if I said this on stream before, but both Altai and I really don't watch too many Twitch streams. I'd rather play games mostly than watch games, which is kind of weird because we stream sometimes and we do a podcast. But I don't watch streams as often. But for some reason, with this content out, I've been glued to my screen watching the progress these guys are making, because it's really interesting to see like their process of overcoming mechanics. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like you're there learning the fight as well, kind of, but without having to put in all the hours. And you're seeing them make progress. You want to see what mechanic comes up next. You want to see what's next. So basically, in this fight, it's like a 4-stage fight. It looks like you have to beat Garuda, which is the first boss of the fight, and then you got to beat Ifrit, and then you got to beat Titan. And at that point, no one's gone past that. Basically, they've beaten Titan, and there's a mechanic, leading up to Ultimate Weapon, and no one's quite gotten there yet. And this is after streaming for 12 hours. So it's like 4 bosses in a row you got to beat.
So it's like the other one. If you lose at any point, you got to start all the way back.
Yes, but what's actually really bizarre is if I've been watching a lot of the progress since it went live, basically, and I went to sleep and I woke up, and then they're still doing it. So what's crazy is basically every group in the game that's trying to be the world's first to beat it, everyone would basically, after about 8-9 hours of nonstop playing and learning the fights, everyone basically gets to the point where they can kill Titan, which is the third boss, right? And once you kill Titan, it's transitioning to Ultimate Weapon. And what happens is basically some tentacles come out of the ground, and you get La Brea or something cast doom on everyone in the party, saying your journey ends here, Warrior of Light, right? And after like 5 seconds, everyone gets one shot. So everyone's trying to figure out what they're doing wrong, right? Because when you get to that, basically after 8 hours of progging the content, there's a one-shot mechanic that's cast on you with these tentacles coming out of the ground, and nobody can figure out what do you do? Like, what do you do against this guy? Like, what the hell? Like, there's 8 hours of the fight, and nobody knows what they're doing wrong, right? And eventually, they discover that you can't just beat the bosses what you have to do is actually you have to beat the boss in a very specific way. You have to get all the bosses to get to their awakened state through doing different mechanics in the fights. And merely just beating the boss isn't enough.
That
so
gets you wiped.
So players were just beating the bosses instead of getting into their awakening state. And people don't even know how to get to the awakening state on Titan right now. I think everyone's figured out what to do on Garuda and Ifrit, but they don't even know like how to even begin approaching the awakened state on Titan. So it's really bizarre because everyone kind of steamrolled the content and not knowing they were missing something. And it was still visible in the game because the boss would have like indicators on them that nobody knew what it meant, you know? And then I guess somebody figured out later on that it was kind of related to why you were wiping towards the end. So it's weird that they put a wall like 9 hours into progression that like people just couldn't figure out for a long time. And now they're back to basics of just relearning the fights in a certain way.
So what this tells me is something like that in the old days, right? Like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, would be like a rumor that spreads. Like slowly people figure it out. But today, because of the internet, Twitch, Reddit, even something as arcane as that is basically going to be known by everyone within 12 hours, right?
Yes.
So do you think then, so you said, how long did the other one take to beat actually? 11 days?
11 days. 11 days.
And on this one, they're already...
And that's what people nonstop playing it.
Yeah, so these guys, so it's 12 hours and they're already on the last boss.
Well, no one's actually gotten to the last boss yet. Again, they have to beat all three in their awakened states.
So they're on this third boss. They got to make the third boss awakened, right?
Yes.
And beat it. And then they'll be on the fourth.
Basically, yes.
Okay, so how long do you think it'll take then? Another 12 hours, 24 hours, a week?
Way more than that. Because what happened was, I think even on the first ultimate difficulty, people were able to see Bahamut on the first day, but actually being able to beat him took quite a bit longer.
Oh.
So arguably the fight begins once you get to the fourth boss.
I see. Yeah.
So which is pretty crazy because all this time spent is still basically trying to get there, and they have to be able to do all the awakenings consistently, which they're still messing up a lot on.
Really?
And and as a viewer, it's really fun to see because I really want to see what's next after that one-shot mechanic. So what happened is I think Mr. Happy's group, for example, they got one of the awakenings and not the second or third one. They want to see what happens if they do just that one awakening and get to the end. So they got that one awakening at the end instead of getting all three, and they were able to survive that mechanic with 1 HP left instead of being instant one-shot, right? Mm-hmm. And they got one-shot immediately by something else shortly afterwards. But I'm just really curious what Ultimate Web is going to end up looking like. And kind of as a viewer, it is keeping me interested and engaged with the game in a way that I kind of never was before to a degree. Even though I haven't cleared this content, I have no intention of probably clearing this anytime soon. My buddies are trying to get a group together just to throw ourselves at it probably next week, and I'll be there. But it's amazing to see how much the community really rally around these kind of events. Because, like I said, even though most players will never try this content, Final Fantasy XIV is one of the most watched games on Twitch right now, and the game is almost never popular on Steam. It's like on it has more viewers now than almost ever does. You got 13,000 people watching on Twitch, rather. So it's doing really well over there. People that otherwise wouldn't be rating are watching, cheering on their favorite streamers, and just seeing this content. So it's not just like content available for just the 1% of players. It really entertains everyone in the game, and it kind of gives people something to work towards, which I think is beautiful for the game. I think it's really healthy for the game.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that even people, that's a good thing about streaming too. Even the people who know or have no interest in doing this content themselves, including hardcore players like you, at least can participate by watching it, and if they feel involved, part of it, part of the lore, part of the progress, etc. So that's cool.
And the thing is, everyone gets so excited when there's progress being made, they get to see the next mechanic, and again, normally I don't really watch these streams, especially in a game like Final Fantasy XIV where the regular raids aren't particularly difficult, but seeing this kind of stuff is mega exciting, and the design philosophy behind this is actually much different than the other raids, because again, you were able to basically get to that one-shot mechanic despite doing the fights all wrong. You weren't doing them correctly, but you were still able to get further into the fight, and then you kind of have to discover why you messed up. What went wrong, and you have to kind of figure out how to get their awakening states, which isn't necessarily super obvious. And like you said earlier, with the how much people use the internet now, back in the good old days, streaming kind of gave everyone this information now. Back then, maybe somebody would find out this, the mechanic and not tell anybody, right? But now everyone knows because of streaming. Before this information is much more diffused now, and the strategies get out there much sooner. And I think one of the reasons, again, that a lot of fights feel easier today is because we have guides, we have people telling us what to do. You play Vanilla WoW, you had no means of finding guides on how to beat even Molten Core necessarily. You'd have to ask your friend on Vent, if he, maybe he's done it before in another group, or maybe he knows how to do it. He would try to explain to people. There were no super easy guides to follow, tell you where to stand, what to stand, or plugins that tell you where to go and stuff. So a lot of the difficulty in MMORPGs back then was a lack of access to knowledge.
Yeah, and I have a good example of this. So when Omer and I were playing the first Pokemon games, before the internet was a thing, we believed that if you hold down the button like A, when you're catching the Pokemon, it's like shaking, that helps your odds. And you gotta hold down.
Oh, that didn't help your odds?
I don't know. That's the thing. I still to this day don't know if that's true or if it's a rumor. Like I don't know, right? But there was always these kind of weird rumors, like because your kids would talk to each other at school. But I feel like today, if I had a question like, okay, how do I beat this part of Pokemon? And I remember at school, kids would hand me their Game Boy because they knew I got past the cave. This one cave they couldn't get past, and I did it for them. Oh, thank you so much. Now I feel like there'd be no mystery because you can just literally bring up a step-by-step guide, bang, 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 done.
You do kind of lose a bit of the mystique.
Yeah.
Because like I can already imagine if this fight existed like in the olden days without like information being so diffused and access to guides and streaming, it'd be a lot harder. A lot of groups probably not figured this out right away. Like everyone basically once one group figured it out and they're streaming, that information basically got to everyone.
Yep.
Like everyone already knew that they were doing something wrong and they figured it out. It just kind of like feels like a way to kind of skip ahead. With the Pokemon example, I know in Pokemon Red, everyone said in my school, if you can ever get to if you can get a Pokemon with strength and swim before going on to SSN, which is the big ship in the game, and you normally wouldn't get access to these HMs, hidden machines, whatever they're called, these abilities until after the SSN left port, and the area was no longer accessible. Like if you could swim to the side, there was a truck, and if you used strength on the truck, and you would push the truck and gain access to Mew. Now, what's weird is there's some truth to the story because there is actually a truck there, but using strength on the truck does literally nothing. But everyone kind of like spread these rumors around. And when I finally got my friend traded me, I made a new file. My friend traded me a Pokemon that had strength and swim already. And I was able to get there. I saw the truck. I was so excited to get Mew, and it didn't happen.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. It's very sad.
Yeah. I do wonder, so we're that generation that basically the internet kind of came after we were already like, I guess in middle school maybe, right? High school?
Yeah.
Middle school, I'd say.
Middle school.
I wonder what this generation growing up now, like let's say you're like 5 now, and for you, like let's say your big game, one of your big first games was like Minecraft or Fortnite. You know that everything is online. Like that spread, the information must be spreading so much faster. So I wonder what will games in the future be like? Because you can't spend, if you're a game developer today, you can't spend like 10 hours making 10 minutes of content that requires like a mystery because all your players are gonna 1 minute bang bang get past that mystery and there goes 10 hours of design.
Yeah, it's weird because I think MMO fights especially are designed in a very telegraphed way. Now I'm not sure if it doesn't apply to every fight, but basically almost everything in Final Fantasy XIV, from my experience, has been designed this way. I think almost everything in WoW is a bit similar, where basically it's this mechanic, and then after this mechanic, it's this mechanic, right? So. And in this mechanic, you have to always stand in this one spot. Or you almost always have to stand in this spot. The boss casts abilities in a very telegraphed manner. He's not going to cast like a frontal AoE sweep and then do something completely unpredictable afterwards. He has a very basic rotation. He's going to go one after the other. After he casts his frontal cone sweep, he will always cast the ability that hits to his left or something, right? It's a very weird way of designing boss fights, I think. And it kind of makes it for a bit of a stale experience. Because I know when the new raids of Final Fantasy XIV come out, for example, learning them is a lot of fun. Just the progress of learning the fights, the process of learning and dying and wiping and learning is a lot of fun. I'll find myself playing the game for 8 hours straight, doing these boss fights, and it's some of the most fun I have in these games. But once you learn the fights, and once you have it on farm status, it's really bizarre because I can basically not look at my screen and know exactly what every mechanic that's coming up is telegraphed beforehand. And I'm basically like just chatting with my friends, watching my other monitor, while I'm basically doing my rotation with my eyes closed, basically, because I know what's coming up. It's a very weird way of designing boss fights. And it's because of the guides as well. People learn that a bit quicker as well. So I think developers have to do something where the boss fights are a bit more unpredictable, but also fair.
Well, I do think there's actually hope on that front with stuff like AI. Not like fake AI like sci-fi, but like machine learning. Like imagine a game like Final Fantasy or WoW kept track of every time their boss was killed, right? And then they feed the program to the game where that boss, you can't raise its health or anything. You can't raise its damage, but it tries to avoid situations that in the past 10,000 times led to its defeat. So instead it moves different. It does attacks in different order. That way you can never
That would be
tell.
awesome.
With this explicit goal of avoiding previous failures. So you have to always, you wouldn't know what's coming up next.
I wish they did something like that because it would make the fights way more exciting. There's actually one fight in Final Fantasy XIV where the boss basically he has one of two predetermined paths on what rotation he's going to do, which is actually really interesting because you don't know which one he's going to do until he casts his like first ability, and then he goes down a different chain. And just having two like options completely throws people off. Where a lot of people end up wiping on that, will never defeat that boss because it's really only one of two paths he takes, and once he goes down a path, every move is predictable after that. And the boss is really cool mechanics where he basically telegraphs what ability he's going to cast. There's two screens behind the boss, and it shows you which two abilities he's going to cast next. There's a big screen and a small screen. He'll cast ability on the big screen first, and then after that he'll cast one on the small screen. So what you'll see both abilities coming up next on the big screen and small screen, and then they'll disappear, right? And then he might cast like skip program, which means he's not going to use the one on the big screen. He's only used the one on the small screen. You have to remember that from before. And it's actually really cool because you can telegraph the text that way. But the problem is, once you've done that fight enough, the way I have, you don't even look at the screen anymore. You literally memorize exactly what's coming up no matter what.
Oh.
Which is really sad because a fight that would be really fun and would keep you on your toes, and a really interesting way of observing the mechanics is no longer utilized because everyone just kind of memorizes what's coming up next and no one looks at the screen anymore. There's no need to. You know exactly what's coming when it's coming. Yeah, so there's only one of two possibilities anyway. But if those two possibilities were random, where you had like two random abilities every time, you couldn't memorize it. And I think it would make the fights much more engaging and more hands-on. It's unfortunate that a lot of the fights don't do that.
You're talking about that robot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Guardian. The good thing though about these ultimate fights, on the other hand, though, is it's about memorizing the mechanics as well, but there's a lot of individual mechanics involved as well. Your reaction speed in these fights are very important. I remember when I did Ultimate Coil, for example, it was really bizarre to me just how fast you had to react to certain things. Where the boss is casting something called twisters, tornadoes appear under like almost every player in the party, and they move out of the way, otherwise they'll die. But if you basically look off your screen for a split second, you're done. You die because you didn't move fast enough at that point. You have to wait and then move right before it finishes casting. At the 80% cast speed, you got to move. If you don't do that, you just die. So the game requires you to pay attention completely and be on your toes, which is another way of introducing skill as well. So these fights are exciting. Ultimately, I've been watching these streams for hours, and after I'm done with the podcast, I'm gonna go back to watching some of these streams to see what kind of progress these two big streamers have made on the latest ultimate difficulty in Final Fantasy XIV.
All right.
It's mega hype. So, Alta, how long do you think it's going to take for somebody to clear this? The last one was 11 days.
I say less.
You say less than 11 days.
Yes.
I'm really hoping for more. Because, again, we don't know what the final fight is going to look like on Ultimate Weapon. Everyone is dying around like 6-7 minutes. Actually, it's a bit long. It has to be a bit longer than that. Hold on. I forgot. Are they like 8-9 minutes or something? I think when they beat Titan, they're at 7 or 8 minutes, right? The previous fight was like 16 minutes or 17 minutes.
So they're halfway.
That's kind of weird again because, yeah, something like that. Probably not even halfway just yet. And I imagine the second half is gonna be harder.
So who cleared first last time? Japan or
Japanese? I think it was a Japanese team that never streamed.
Which is, don't
give away your secrets.
Oh,
yeah, I think the trick is, of course, not to give away your secrets as well. Because basically, if you're actually in the running to be a world's first, and if you stream and you're making progress, you're giving away your secrets to other people. There's a huge reason not to stream if you care about being world's first. If you care about getting viewers and making money on Twitch, obviously that's it's different. A lot of streamers doing it for fun, and so. How many? I'm glad they're doing it though, because if it wasn't for these guys doing it for fun, we wouldn't get to watch.
How many people are streaming on Twitch? How many different teams?
I imagine. I mean, if you go to Final Fantasy 14, all the most watched streams are basically people running this nonstop. In fact, everything is like that. Like no one's doing anything else really. Like the first looks like the first 10 streams are all this. You scroll down, it's actually 80% of the top 50 streams are all people running the most difficult content. People are interested in seeing this, which is pretty interesting, especially considering the vast majority of players are casuals. Vast majority of players will never attempt this kind of content, but it's just people are interested. It's and I don't think it's particularly taxing on the developers to make this kind of content because what they're doing is they're reusing old assets. Basically, Garuda, Ifrit, Titan, Ultimate Weapon, these are all fights that exist in the game really early on in the game. They're just, and all the mechanics are generally the same as well. They're just speeding things up, increasing damage, and making them basically place their abilities in different spots. They don't have to redesign anything from the ground up. They're basically just tweaking existing fights and combining them. So it's not super taxing, and because a lot of people think, oh, why are they wasting resources on content only 1% of the players will complete? But I think this is really good and really healthy for the game.
I agree with that. All right, I have an interesting story to bring up. So
All right, let's take it.
GDPR has claimed 2 more souls. Have you heard of this?
2 more games?
2 more games shutting down. And
I haven't heard of this.
Okay, so one is this. Do you remember this game, Mirage Arcane Warfare?
The game sucked. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We played it, and I remember you basically the moment we played that alpha, the first thing all I said was this game sucks. It's awful. And I think Gumby and me kind of tried defending it
from MMOs.com?
poorly.
Yeah, you guys tried defending this. I try. Look, I sugarcoat things too, obviously. Because every game
we sugarcoat a little bit.
Yeah, we do sugarcoat, but there are some games that are just so bad I can't even touch them. Like, I'll say this: Mirage Arcane Warfare was worse than Bless. Like, I had more fun by a long shot.
Me too.
Playing, even though Bless was buggy, shitty, unbalanced, I was like, huh, this is so. It was almost so bad that it was good, right? Like, I enjoyed it, but I got some pleasure from it. But this Mirage game, no pleasure. It was just cringy how bad it was, especially considering how good their first game was. These are the guys that made the Chivalry game.
Yep.
So I don't know, how do you go from that to this? But at least it's dying. It's dead. I think they're kind of full of shit because obviously Chivalry is not coming down. And you figure if the company has the infrastructure in place to service GDPR for Chivalry, that they could just duplicate it for this game if they wanted to keep it up, right? It's not like it's not like a ground up operation for them if they already have one game, compliant. But it is shutting down, so there it is.
It's already shut down as of May 31st. Ripperino, and I don't buy that for a second. Look, I don't buy that one. If you say your game is shutting down GDPR, I accept Ragnarok Online's excuse, maybe to a degree. They already have a publisher, they're doing it or something. But this game was already basically dead, and the studio behind it maybe wanted to save face instead of just shutting it down because it sucks. It clearly did suck, and nobody played it. They should have said we're shutting it down because no one's playing it.
Yeah.
To blame GDPR on this one seems kind of iffy.
Yeah. Cool concept. It was basically Chivalry with like fantasy elements, like magic, but it just didn't work. It wasn't fun. And
what's the second game taking the hit?
The second game taking the hit is Evolve. Have you played that?
Really? That game was buy to play. It launched as free to play, and it had a huge following when it went free to play.
Yeah.
Evolve Stage 2, right?
Yeah, I guess. I guess the whole thing's shutting down, including Stage 2. I don't know.
Because Evolve Stage, I think it was just Evolve before, and then they call it Evolve Stage 2. I didn't see that one coming. Maybe we're talking about something else.
No, well, let's see. Was Evolve the regular still up when Stage 2 came out?
I don't remember. No, well, there's basically nobody playing Evolve Stage 2 anymore. So it's probably this game, actually.
Yeah.
Which was pretty ridiculous. Evolve Stage 2, when it went free to play, the player base jumped to over 50,000, which is insane.
Wow.
It's dropped since.
So it dropped to what, like 0 or?
Well, right now there's 0 people playing, but a 24-hour peak of 300. So people still play.
Okay.
The average 30-day is 266. But this was years ago. Went free to play back in January of 2016. So it's been over 2 years.
Yeah, I think it is the same game. I think Evolve Stage 2 or whatever is shutting down. And
GDPR is claiming another soul.
Like, I think it's healthy though, because they say even like deer herds, right? They actually benefit from having like predators like tigers or whatever nearby, because what the tigers do is they eat the slowest, weakest, sickest gazelle, the ones who can't get away, right? And without the tigers there, those sickly gazelle, they get the whole herd sick. Their shit spreads. So
their shit spreads.
So it's better actually for the scene for these weak ass gazelle like Evolve and Mirage to get picked off by the bureaucratic tiger that is the European Union Privacy Department. Okay, that's the analogy. Let's see if it fits.
It fits to a degree, but I think it's still kind of sad. I mean, anytime a game shuts down, like if they could afford to keep the game running, because the servers themselves don't cost a lot of money, especially when you have that many people playing. If they could just keep it running on basically maintenance mode, I think it's good. There are people out there that that live to play Evolve Stage 2, or they live to play I'm sure there's somebody out there that lives to play Mirage Arcane Warfare, right? And it's always sad to see a game die.
Not Mirage. I never played
Mirage.
Evolve, so I can't comment on that.
Are you gonna dance on the gravestone of Mirage all time?
Yes, good riddance.
Good riddance, he
Good
says.
riddance. Yeah, but again, maybe Evolve sounded cool, but I never played it. It was like the whole like 1v4 style I like. Kind of like Dead by Daylight, I guess, right? But just shitty because I guess nobody played it.
Well, Ripperino. I knew those commies in Europe were up to no good. We'll see if they claim any other souls, because the GDPR just went into effect. And actually, I've still been being bombarded with emails of all the GDPR compliance stuff. So that stuff just went into effect. I think we'll hear maybe more games shutting down and more websites shutting down over it. we'll see how that all evolves. See what I did there? Evolves.
Evolves. Oof.
Oof. Anything else spicy this week?
I got a funny story.
All right, let's take it.
Okay, I found this funny. Let's see if anybody in chat is if I offend anybody. Okay.
Ooh.
Not intentionally, but here we go. Okay. So, report. Xbox support staff helped train unpaid replacements before being laid off. So, in the good old days, when people had to do mindless grunt work, they demanded to be paid for it. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, Microsoft had this whole division of support staff for Xbox problems. But they said, hey, wait a minute. Our stupid-ass Xbox fans will actually help each other for free. So, they got volunteers, which they pay in like gamer titles and avatar pictures on Xbox, right? That's what you're getting paid in, and you must provide support for people who do tickets, who send tickets for having issues with Xbox, and they got so many volunteers now that they don't even need to pay people anymore.
That's actually pretty genius. Oh, they're paying them in titles. All right, I mean, you'd be surprised. There are people out there that would like do anything for the title of a moderator on like a popular stream, or like back in the good old days, like there were always people that would suck the admin's dick to get access to like mod privilege. For some reason, it's always like a status symbol. I know on subreddits, people still basically will bend over backwards for the privilege of being a mod and doing work for free, which I never quite understood because answering tickets sounds boring as hell, and being a mod is just responsibility, Like, I'll take the responsibility if my friend asks me, but like, I would never volunteer for responsibility.
Yeah, it's insane. But, someone in chat said outsourcing, right? But the whole point of outsourcing is you find somebody who lives in like a lower salary country, right? And then you pay them, which is fine. They got to feed their family, whatever. But this isn't even outsourcing to like save money. This is like outsourcing to idiots. Like, not to people who live in like cheaper countries and don't have the same opportunities. It's just people who don't want to get paid for the work they do. It's just
pretty
weird.
bizarre.
Yeah.
They're being undercut by people willing to work for free. You can't really lower your salary any more than that. They're doing it for free. Game is hard. Yikes! It's pretty crazy how much power there is to the special titles.
Yeah.
Well, the only other interesting thing I read it wasn't even this week. It was like 2 weeks ago. Apparently, there's still hackers on Black Desert Online. And you'd think with their immense popularity, I feel like MMORPGs typically are there's a lot less hackers in MMORPGs than there is in stuff like CS:GO or any FPS game. For some reason, FPS games is always easier to hack because you program a lot of client-side stuff to basically
aim for you,
basically detect the heads and shoot them, right?
Yep.
Or aim assist and stuff. But BDL, look at this video came out like in April 18th. It's been pretty old now. April 19th. This video, but there's a guy speed hacking in this video, and you'll see it pretty clearly after like 10 seconds. It kills him, and do you see how fast this guy's just basically running across the map, blowing everything up? Like you would think something like this was like mega easy to detect, which is pretty crazy, right?
So who's hacking? The guy we're watching, like right now?
No.
Okay.
No, he dies to the hacker.
Okay.
And then you'll see the guy that kills him, and there's another clip later in the video. The guy's gonna run past him, hacking, basically killing everything in his way. There's the cloud in distance. You see the guy running with the cloud in this distance, just teleporting around the map. You'll see his cloud as he runs and kills things.
Okay, I gotta see it again.
You'll see again towards the end of the video as well.
Oh.
Like I think at
Oh, I see. I see. He's coming in now.
Yeah.
Woo!
And basically what happens is he just speeds across everything. You see it really clearly, like 31 to 37.
Yeah.
So obviously the guy is farming things extremely fast. And people are saying not a single person has been banned yet for BDR hacking. Multiple reported the same person, and they've continued blatantly hacking for over 6 months. That's a pretty damning comment, because especially when it says you've been killed by a person, you can look up their name, and to see the person hacking not get punished is pretty bizarre. And this game is doing really well too. It's not like a really obscure game either. It's still one of the most played MMORPGs on Steam, hitting probably over 20k users still. So, and it's completely, and the economy's been completely ruined by this game. So the economy's still kind of controlled in this. You can only sell items for certain amounts, but basically people that hack like this, it's not really about the experience, about how much gold and resources you can get, because you can outbid everybody else in the auction house for all the rare resources. And he's killing things like 100 times faster than other people.
Yeah, it looks so funny.
And if you see this as what's crazy is you're risking your max level, like high level characters to do this as well. Like if there's any chance of being banned, and you're doing it on your character to kill like tough enemies, if your character gets banned, that's a big setback. You gotta buy the game again. You gotta either rebot the max level or get the max level again. And then you'd think in a buy to play game, the incentives for anti-cheating would be much higher. Because if you in MapleStory, for example, it's a little harder to deal with the hackers, because the hackers can perpetually make new accounts and just bot the max level perpetually, and and you can make a catch for free. In BO, that's not the case. You gotta buy the game every time. It goes on sale for $5, but otherwise it's $10. So every time you ban a hacker, you make $10. That's if they buy nothing else. And obviously those hackers are probably buying the pets as well to loot AoE loot everything. Because if you don't AoE loot everything, you can't even practically hack if you don't have the pets. The game is set up in such a way that you basically need pets to hack as well. Because if you're killing everything so fast, your pets have to pick up the loot. Otherwise, you're slowing down your grind by manually clicking stuff.
I suspect a lot of these hackers are using stolen credit cards, so they don't care. Like even big Western companies like Fortnite, they don't have a hacking problem per se, but they have a huge problem with unauthorized access to accounts. And how this works is apparently Epic Games account saves your payment information. So what people do is they just guess your password. And a lot of you probably have been getting, if you guys play Fortnite, you've been getting daily,
hack attempts.
Yeah. I used to get 100 per day. Like Gmail would stack 100 and move on to the next stack of 100.
Wow.
Yeah. People just trying to get brute force my password because if they get in,
what do they get for getting in?
Here's what they get. They get some accounts, like if you ever pause something and you click save my payment information, it's saved.
Okay.
So they can buy the code card, V-Bucks code, right?
Oh,
and it's transferable.
So you buy prepaid V-Bucks.
Yeah.
They're transferable. Yeah. That's what they're going after. And okay, it makes sense. I never knew.
And first of all, I bet half of people don't even look at their credit card statements on a month-to-month basis.
No, probably not.
Because it's their parent's card or whatever, right? And the parent is busy with his life. He doesn't know. Okay, $100 for V-Bucks. What the fuck? What is this? I don't know. Whatever. And they don't care. But even if they do even if they do a chargeback, it takes months. And by then the guy spent his V-Bucks, baby, or he sold them for like $10 for 100 to someone else on third party. Now it's gone.
Interesting. That makes a lot more sense. I was kind of curious what they would get because I knew the skins were transferable.
It's a huge money maker.
V-Bucks.
There's like tens of millions, if not more, just changing hand.
But you would think you could fix this overnight by why can't Epic Games just make it so those V-Bucks codes are not transferable? Problem fixed. It fixed all the bullshit.
Or they could just not make it so you save your payment information online.
Well, Amazon does that. A lot of people do that. So I get the convenience of that, but you can fix it over. Just don't make transferable V-Bucks.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get the V-Bucks codes, maybe you have to go to a store and buy them the physical cards, and then put that responsibility on the retailer to prevent fraud. But the moment you make them, digital, I understand why they want to hack accounts then.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So Shania in chat, I saw a charge from Epic for $300, and I was on that shit right away. Yeah, guys. So if you don't check your card statements, I've been kind of guilty of this too. I do check it, but there are months I don't. I won't check it.
I will go 4 or 5 months without checking my card. I just auto pay and I don't even look at it.
So there you go.
But I probably should. There's probably some. You never know.
Yeah.
I imagine typically if your account gets hacked, they're not going to buy like $10,000 worth of stuff. No. They might put like $100 a month, but you might not see it.
Yeah.
If you just sneak it in once in a while, it's pretty genius.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think I'm more tech savvy than average, right? So I have the like the mobile SMS like login thing on my Epic account now.
Two-factor authentication, yeah.
Because I was scared. I was like, how are they guessing? Because if they get to the email verification, it means they got your password, right?
Yeah, what's weird is I know you would get in some of my Epic emails. It'd be like, okay, like a user has like tried to log into your account. We blocked them. However, if you're seeing this email, it means they've gotten your password. So that's really bizarre. Like a lot of them have gotten my password. And I actually just this week enabled two-factor authentication, and I changed my password to be very pretty secure password with caps and special characters. So my Epic Games account is now fully secured.
Yeah, but I think the reason they're targeting Epic so much now is because Fortnite is huge, but mainly because, like I said, that auto-saved. And here's the thing. Even a lot of sites that auto-save your card, they'll make you put those last 3 in. They won't save those last 3 numbers in the back. But Epic apparently just saves the whole thing. You can one-click buy, baby.
That's why they're going after that. Makes sense. It all makes sense now, boys. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, it's sad to see Black Desert. He's not dealing with the hackers in a way that you'd expect from a buy-to-play game.
Well, because it's not. It's a Korean. It's a free-to-play game in all aspects, except for they just charge $5 to start with.
Yeah, but yeah, that still like stuff like this seems like I don't know. It just feels like they should be able to detect this or make some of the because obviously they can't dupe items. That's all server side, right? Like you think after all these reports come in of players being pissed off over hacking and literally videos showing it, they move some of these values towards server side or something. This doesn't happen in World of Warcraft. It doesn't happen in like other games. It just seems bizarre that, and this is the only video. There's actually multiple videos of people hacking too, and it's kind of lame. Obviously, it's
Yeah, I see a lot of people.
And it just
complaining
completely ruins the game's market as well. If, people can just basically AoE farm everything at insanely high speeds, and just it's nuts.
But honestly, I'm kind of resigned to this because it's such a part of MMOs. Like, I mean, even back in the RuneScape days, botting and this kind of stuff, it's just so part and parcel of the experience that I'm kind of numb to it now. To be honest, they should ban you, but it's like an arms race that you can never really win. Like I read a post about how many times they ban people on Counter-Strike every year. How many accounts they ban, and people just keep buying more and more and more and keep doing it over and over again. So it's just never-ending arms race.
I think there was a comment of like what percent of players in like the highest tiers of Counter-Strike end up hacking, and the guy posted like, because if you report people, you can like track later if they got banned or not, or you can look at the list of like all the people you ever played with. Right? There are third-party websites that track basically they track everyone you've played with, and then if you go back a month later or 2 months later, it'll look back how many of those people got banned for hacking. And it's insane, like 10% of people end up getting banned. Like the people at the highest tier of gaming, they look back at their last month of play, and 10% of people they play with got banned. Wow. It's nuts how many people hack in those guys. But again, like I said, it's always easier to hack in first-person shooters than MMORPGs. And botting is nearly unstoppable. I don't think anyone's really complaining about the botting, because people are going to bot no matter what. Basically, no MMORPGs ever figure out how to stop botting, and it's impossible because it's all client-side. But a speed hack like that seems very clearly something you can fix. I'm not saying you can stop all the hacking.
How do you fix it? Remember Maple Story? You used to do the vac hack and stuff. Like how do you stop? Everybody was doing that. You go to an empty map, you turn it on. If anyone comes to your map, you turn it off. Quickly.
Yeah.
So it's such a hard thing to catch.
I mean, clearly it's not happening in Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft. I mean, there were teleport hacks back in those games as well, but I think most of them have been mostly the problem is botting now. And I don't think anyone expects botting to go away. But the speed hack stuff is definitely a bit of a nightmare.
It is a nightmare, but especially in a PvP style game like BDO. But again, I don't know how. I don't know what. So what can they do? What can they do? How do they stop it? Huh?
I'm looking at their the Southeast Asian version of Black Desert Online. They linked how many players they banned, right? For cheating. It's actually pretty remarkable. Permanently restricted from the game. So here's the list. I can show you that. It's actually pretty sad how short the list is. So again, it's only the Southeast Asian version of the game, and it looks like it was between it's a long period. Is that really January 10th to like May 30th? That's like 5 months, and they banned a total of, drum roll please, 142 users. That's it? Come on, there are more people spamming the game than that, all right? And any given day, there are people advertising bullshit services than just that,
Yeah.
So it just seems like there's a lot of people upset about it. If you look at the Black Desert subreddit, hacking is probably the biggest concern with the game right now. And people are showing like the gear that the hackers have too. Like some of the gear that people have, it's just like it requires like unfathomable amounts of farming to get that you can only get by hacking, basically. All the upgrades in your gear.
So again, though, if even like Valve, with all the money that Valve has, or all the, because remember, Valve controls the platform, they control the game, the engine, right, every aspect of it, okay, of the stack for Counter-Strike, and even they can't get rid of this problem. They keep banning people, but for every one guy they ban, they must be more getting away with it. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it.
I already yield that you can't stop all the hacking, but I feel like speed hacks like this need to be stopped.
How?
The botting will never stop. Whatever value allows them to change, you can just change that every time or something. It's on their end to fix it. Make it server side. Do something like that to address that. Right? You can do server side speed checks too. If any player moves at a rate that's literally impossible, they get banned. A lot of games do that. I think that that's a way that auto detect bans as well.
I'm sure there's a way.
If a player moves at unreasonable speeds, I know PUBG for example does that as well. Where PUBG, if they detect you moving at a speed that's literally impossible, you get insta ban. That's a part of their anti-cheat. It's relatively newish, but I remember they talked about it.
I do think they should err on the side of just blocking the account and then having you try to explain complain about it, because I think a lot of hackers just won't. They'll just walk away if they get.
They'll accept their ban.
Yeah.
Fair. But it's sad to see all the people just seeing how bad some of the hacking situation. Black Desert is still a good game, but it'd be really sad to see this get really out of hand, because this is one of those things where if the economy gets so inflated, it really hurts experience for everyone else. If a certain group of people just literally are farming money to rates of 1,000 times what other players can farm, it could just really derail the experience for everyone else.
Yeah.
Both in terms of unfairness and literally access to resources become like near impossible.
I gotta do more reading about this. I want to see what exactly what kind of hacks they're doing, and what is like the response. Like, how do you stop it? What do they have in place? Because you'd assume any kind of sophisticated hacker can get around those speed checks. They can just, you know what I'm saying?
Sophisticated hacker? Okay, obviously you'll never stop the sophisticated hackers. But most players just use off the shelf like hack tools, you know, that like, you know, if people write custom hacks for their business where they're like botting and like getting stuff for people's accounts, you can never stop that. I think it's fair across the board. But I imagine the biggest problem is people just downloading pre-made hacks and doing it in mass. Like that's the biggest issue.
Yeah. I'll read about it. This is, you know, it seems pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Anything else spicy this week?
There's
There's a potentially new Diablo game coming out, but there's basically nothing on that just yet. I know about the news on MMOs.com.
Yeah, people
they put a job listing for an unannounced Diablo project. Salta, are we getting Diablo 4? Is it DLC for Diablo 3, or is it a mobile Diablo game? It's one of those three for sure, I think.
Oof. I think it's another add-on for D3.
DLC? I think it's a D3 DLC as well. I mean, Path of Exile is still firing on all cylinders. They actually just launched Path of Exile just launched an expansion this last week. Their player base jumped like over 80,000 concurrent on Steam, so it's doing really well. Yeah, and we haven't seen a Diablo 3 DLC since the Necromancer one, which exactly 1 year ago.
Yeah. I think PoE is really good with updates. You know, they have new updates every year.
Actually, it's pretty funny. I think Shineo just linked a hack for Black Desert Online, and it's on Owned Core, which is actually pretty funny. This website is literally known for sharing hacks, exploits, and bugs. So, like, I feel like if you work at any MMO company or any online game company, you have one like customer service guy, one employee once in a while peruse Owned Core and just download the hacks and literally ban people that that use them. You know, it's just pretty crazy. Like some of the hacks still work on here, and people are saying like awesome release, like this shit works, man, awesome.
That's pretty funny.
And this website has been around forever. In fact, I'm pretty sure we downloaded our MapleStory 1 hacks on this website when we hacked MapleStory.
Can we show us on stream, or is it a Bolton?
I don't know. I think you just click on it to show it for a second. It's a form.
Okay.
Is that there's nothing beyond that on it.
Better Bolton.
But, what are you saying, Bolton? Are you making up words all the time?
Verboten. That's like German for like forbidden.
Oh, the forbidden fruit here.
Yeah, so I like this part too. Supported versions, EU and A. It doesn't work. They fixed it in Asia. They haven't fixed it here yet.
Yeah, this is specifically for this one. It's like, what does this hack do? You get normal speed hacks for players mounted. Normal speed hacks now, not like crazy speed. Normal speed hacks. Animation speed hack for players for attacking and casting. Like anytime they're affecting attack values too, which is insane because that's like so broken. If it was just movement, that's one thing. But if you're literally just getting a combat advantage, it's also insane. It's a DPS output with this is much higher compared to normal attack and whatnot. So it's pretty brazen. You know? I feel like all you have to do is and they would say this obviously against terms of service, but you might get banned one day for using it. You know, it works today, but you might get banned. But like if they post these hacks publicly, look, I don't expect any company to be able to ban all the private hacks that are made by coders themselves or for private clients. But shit like this, where it's literally a public hack that like, thousands of players are downloading and using, this shit has to get fixed. That's all. This is the one that's got to be fixed. Nothing else. This one. Shit like this.
You know, Omer and I had some buddies in high school, and they would pretend to write hacks for like Diablo 2, Battlefield, whatever, Warcraft. But all these hacks did was look through your registry for the CD key and then email it to our buddy. So you had these kids trying to hack, but all they were doing is getting their CD key stolen all day. So what do you? There's some justice. If you want to get back at hackers, do it that way. You know, like just steal from them.
Mm-hmm.
Steal from the prospective hackers. Like I'm okay with that. Like if you put some kind of spyware in a hack, in a fake hack, and you put it online and people download it, that's fine. That's cool. That's justice. I'm cool with that.
No, I would love to see. I would love to see like somebody at Pearl Abyss or Cacao Games put out a hack on this website, and and when you download it, all it does is basically identifies your account and then bans you. Like it feeds them information who's using the hack, and maybe like it'll work for like a day, right? Anyone that downloads it, it'll spread like wildfire, right? Make a hack. Let the developers themselves make a hack that works beautifully. It works beautifully because they make the game, right? They get past anyone at the hack, and then anyone that downloads it, boom, it's a ban after one day. Wouldn't that be beautiful? That would be justice. All right.
It would be, but what about this then? What if you run the numbers and you look at your player base, and the people who are hacking are also the ones spending the most money in the cash shop? So now if you ban, let's say 10% of the players which are hacking, you lose like 80% of your revenue. Would you do it? Maybe not.
it comes down to one of those situations. Yeah, individually they may spend more, but you kind of miss the calculation of like all the players that quit the game because of the hacker. If like you piss off 2 other people that spend less on average, you can hurt the game more that way. Obviously, the hackers spend money too, but the equation goes quite a bit more than that as well. You don't want to prolong the lifespan of your game and everything.
I don't know which way the equation goes. It could go that way.
Who knows? Some did release a fake hack for CS:GO a while ago. Insta-vac ban. That's pretty funny. That was made by players too. But I think for MMORPGs, you could do a Trojan horse approach where it works for a day, and you just insta-ban anyone that uses it. Because it would literally send data to the server on who's using it, and it's made by the developer, so it would just work and just insta-ban. That'd be like the most like beautiful thing. Like such justice would be served in the world, and they would get so much good PR. Imagine they did that. I feel like everyone would be like hailing them like on like Reddit as like just like badass. I would have mega respect for that.
So what about this idea where someone posted in chat? What if the hacks are in the Catchup? You can literally buy, like, speed hack.
I mean, in a way, you have that with pay-to-win games already. Like a lot of games are literally just paying for power anyway. So you kind of indirectly kind of get there anyway with pay-to-win games.
No, but what about this? Okay, so you can buy like a 1-day speed hack pass, but it says warning: if other players report you, you will be banned. You must do, so the risk is on you. If you don't get reported, we're okay with you using this hack for 1 day, 2 day, 10 day, whatever, however much you pay. But if you get X number of reports, you're still banned.
No, that's obviously a terrible idea.
Why?
And that actually reminds me of there's a pretty funny headline you linked me earlier this week. The headline really makes the story. I think maybe we should share that on stream here.
Oh yeah, I got it.
It's on CNBC.
Okay.
About pay to win. We talk a lot about pay to win on this podcast, so this is quite the headline, and it kind of captures our thought process for a while. We've talked about Chinese like East versus West when it comes to pay to win, and obviously in America we are not against we're against pay to win.
Yeah. So the headline is the Americans largely won't pay to win a video game, but Chinese gamers will, and it's probably obvious to everyone in this chat, but it's just a big site like this kind of realizing it is also pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a huge cultural difference. And I think this deserves its own like topic, maybe next week, Weekly Rate or something. But we can't forget that pay to win isn't new. Pay to win is how video games started. The same companies that made gaming, like Sega, Konami, or these are some OG video companies. You know what their business was before video games? Slot machines.
They made slot machines.
They still make slot. They still make a lot of money with slot machines. These companies. So video games were just made as a side business to gambling company games.
And also, what are arcade machines? They were all pay to win as well.
Yeah.
Remember you play those like the shooting games? When you run out of lives, what do? You put another quarter in, you get another life. If if like you play with your friend and like your friend's got more quarters than you, guess what? He's like beating the game and you're not. Or if you're playing Gauntlet Legends at the arcade, every second your HP ticks down. You put another quarter and you get more HP.
It was literally buy HP. Yeah.
Pay to win.
Yeah.
Every arcade game was literally pay to win as well. So when did the concept of fairness perhaps enter the
when the Western companies
psyche
kind of started making games?
But even the Western companies that made arcade games, they were still pay to win. You had to pay like for lives. Every arcade machine, when you run out of lives, you pay more. You keep going. That was still pay to win as well. Nowadays the same concept kind of exists in like stuff like Blessed, where if you run out of if you die in a dungeon, you can literally pay to instantly resurrect. A lot of games do that. Mm-hmm. Soul Worker does it as well, where you die in a dungeon, you pay money to resurrect. It's almost like the paying quarters to an arcade machine.
It's going full circle, boys.
Ooh, there you go, full circle gaming.
But now instead of quarters, you got to spend like $10 at a time.
Yeah, it's not.
That's
back then it was only quarters. It got way more expensive.
It did.
And that actually brings up another interesting discussion. How much? Because I know there was a lot of complaints about Bless's pay for convenience, and then we talked about it a little bit with Black Desert Online as well. Like how much pay for convenience is okay? Because I think for the most part, most people agree that most people don't object at all to cosmetics. Like stuff like Overwatch or Terra.
Some people do, but most people don't.
Yeah, well, 99% of people are a-okay for pay for cosmetics. Yeah. But when you start doing like convenience, it sounds good. Like, oh, just pay for convenience, brah. But like the reality is, you want to play Black Desert Online, you need a pet. You want a pet. You need like 4 pets if you want to actually farm efficiently in Black Desert Online. Those are considered convenience, but they're kind of necessary. Or even that might be worse than the in Blessed, for example, you can teleport to dungeons if you pay money. Like you can just go from like the capital city, instantly teleport to a dungeon that you want to run for like one-time payment, like 75 lumenas, right? So like how much pay? It seems kind of innocuous, but like at a certain point, like what's the cutoff for too much pay for convenience? Because in that regard, you get XP faster, you get to your locations faster.
I will say this reminds me of Star Wars: The Old Republic, when they went from subscription only to free to play with the subscription option. What they did was they only the subscribers could teleport to the capital ship or whatever for each faction when they wanted to. Everyone else couldn't do that unless they paid like a one-time token, right? It cost money in the cash shop. So I think pay for convenience is okay on a per dime basis, like, but only if there's a subscription optional above it where you get unlimited for all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Or maybe they got segregated in I don't know somehow. Like I like the concept of like a subscription server, like where there's no pay to win at all or no like cash.
Yeah,
Like,
that's good.
I would love to like every game, just like every like popular free to play game where they can afford, they have enough player base to support maybe a subscription server. Where in that server there's literally no cash shop. Maybe like give that option to players. If that option exists, I think it's fine. It just without that option, it can definitely feel like nickel and diming all the time. In Star Wars, you can every MMO needs to be able to hide your helmet. All right, every game needs that. I hate games that don't have it.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. So I'm okay with something like that where, as long as you have an optional subscription, because here's the thing too, I hate even in a free game where I'm okay with paying some money or no money, whatever it is. I hate the fact that they nickel and dime you on everything, like inventory, bank inventory. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just enough already. Like I want one option to pay once or on a recurring basis and just not deal with any of that convenience stuff, right?
Yeah, some of the convenience stuff is not that bad. It's not like game breaking, and the cosmetics is definitely not game breaking at all. I think being able to access the game for free is obviously a huge win as well.
I feel like though some things really bother me like even more than if I were just a money cost. Like when when a game is designed that I'm constantly running out of space.
Inventory space. That is infuriating.
BDO was bad at this. BDO was so annoying. It gave you so few slots and like things didn't stack. I was always full of crafting materials and stuff in BDO. I wanted to do more of the crafting quest and stuff, the side quest, but I just didn't want to carry the shit around because there's so few inventory slots. So that was annoying.
Neverwinter was the same way too. I hate running out of inventory space. I know in Bless it kind of got annoying as well. You could buy additional inventory in Bless like pretty early on, and you do need additional inventory in Bless. Otherwise, you have to constantly keep going to the vendor to sell shit. And you have all this loot on you that you're not like it fills your inventory with stuff that you think might be useful later on, so you don't want to open it yet or throw it away, but you don't know, and it's frustrating. And the first thing I did with my Founders Pack money was to buy additional inventory slots. And they're not cheap though. I remember they're pretty expensive.
Indeed.
Our Rift does have a sub-only server right now. Anything else spicy this week, Alpine?
I'll show this. This is a picture you showed me earlier. This is another Bless Online, the chat filter meme. So for those of you who don't understand this, Bless has an awful chat filter. Like they just
most of it's fixed now, but the picture's still hilarious.
Okay, so it's hard to read, guys. So I will try reading it for you. So Bless Online general chat complaining about maturity filters in chat being awful. Devs respond with a global message that gets censored. Can't make this stuff up, folks. And the message is: we are aware of the overly aggressive that chat filters are, and sorry for any issues this may have caused. But after CAU on caused, it just bleeps it out. I don't even know why. It's not a bad word, right? Cause SED.
No. In fact, even the filter's still pretty bad because it still catch. What happened, I think, was the chat filter went through the Google Translate, right? And some curse words in Korean just got like shortened like 2 letters or something. And those 2 letters, no matter what, will always get banned. So like if you say the words AG at launch day, for example, any word that if you typed AG by itself, it would be chat filtered. If you start typing words like again or lag or any words that contain AG, those will always get filtered out, which is really bizarre. I mean, it made no kind of sense. And even now, like a lot of words like filter, like you can't say but, like BUTT, which I don't know if that's really a curse word. But you're allowed to say ass. You can say ass, but you can't say but.
It's actually it's promoting.
That blew my mind. I typed it out like wait, I can say ass, but I can't say but. Come on.
That's so funny.
And there are people named like penis running around, but no, you can't say but. It makes no sense. It's such a really thought out chat filter.
Yeah.
Oh,
disaster.
Pretty bad.
Well, that was my last thing. Oh, here's one more lighthearted article for you guys. All right.
All right.
So ZeniMax, the company behind Elder Scrolls Online, is hiring for a new position for ESO. You guys can apply here. I'll link it, and the title is Monetization Designer.
Ooh.
And so
Interesting.
basically your job is to, squeeze the game, get new items into cash shop, etc.
No. I'll tell you. Your responsibility is to develop and manage a calendar of offerings, updates, and events. It makes it sound very nicely, but what they really mean is to squeeze as much money as you can from players without pissing them off too much.
And I love this fancy title for this position, monetization designer. And I love the requirements for this job. You need 3+ years as a monetization designer experience. Did this job exist like 3 years ago? I guess so, but it didn't. I don't think it had this name. This is a pretty new position in the gaming world, I feel.
Mm-hmm. It's really weird because like a lot of these games have always these like the developers always. It's just a weird dichotomy for developers to kind of like see how much they can squeeze out of players, right? It's a very unhealthy relationship between a developer and their players to be constantly like hiring designers to find new and innovative ways to squeeze money out of players, right? Like they should be focused on making the game better, and money should come like through that process. So I don't know. It's very sad.
That's too idealist. We're going back to the slot machine, baby. Get ready.
Maybe, perhaps.
I think in the minds of developers, okay, the ideal video game is literally a slot machine, and so we have to move closer to that. That's progress. So the further you get from the slot machine, that's regression. And
I'm playing this one mobile game right now because my buddy Chicken MC told me to play it. I don't know why he's playing this mobile game. It's pretty terrible. It's called Idle Heroes, right? So I play when I'm pooping, basically. But the more I play this game, I'm pretty sure it's a Chinese developed game, and it just it's so obvious to me that this isn't like this is not a product. Maybe you can show the game on
Idle Heroes.
On YouTube.
Okay.
Idle Heroes. This game is not like a product designed to evoke joy from players, right? This game is literally a Skinner box. The whole purpose of this game, there's no fun involved in this game. The game is a mathematically designed formula to milk money out of players. There is no sense of like I'm doing something. Hey, I did something cool. Like I made a cool gameplay move, right? Like there's none of that. It's just so obvious to me that like this doesn't speak for every mobile game, but this game in particular, it's such a soulless like way to milk money out of players. It's a very methodical process to take money from players. There's nothing here, and I never felt this way about like any like for the most part any PC game I've played, even a lot of the free to play games, right? I never felt like from the get go this was just purely an attempt to get money. Like you could say Bless was a cash grab or whatever, but the reality is underneath Bless there was a game, there was a product, okay, there was a reason to play Bless, right? And the monetization existed on top of that. This game feels like it was designed from the pure bottom up to take as much money from players as possible.
I would have to agree.
These
with
mobile
that.
games are so bizarre.
Yeah,
it's insane. Because I don't typically play these games. I played it for like again when I take a poop, I play for like 5 minutes. But like I get no joy. It's literally just I'm doing this loop, and it just feels like every once in a while you play this game, it throws a dart at you, right? It throws like give us money, and if you click no, right? It goes away for a while, but then it comes back at you, right? And one of those will stick at you eventually. And the way these games do it sometimes is like, if the first offer didn't work, like they'll give you like a 90% off offer, like the next time you play. I know my buddy Chicken MC is like, they got $10 out of me. Like, what? You paid money for this shit? What the hell's wrong with you? He's like, dude, it was like this 90% off deal. I'm like, that's how they get you, buddy. He's like, I know.
90% off what? Yeah,
90%. It's actually pretty cringe. If you look at the game's cash shop right now, like I'm opening my game right now. It's like it's called a cool event, right? You can get this monthly card, and like the monthly card, it's so obviously bullshit. Like it's just like the retail price on this card is $195, but it's on sale for $14 right now. That's such bullshit. Like this is the deal. He bought this deal because like he saw it was it's normally $195, but now it's $14.99. That's like the most insane. The amount to put like it's normally $150,000, but now it's $3. It's no different. This was never worth anything anyway. But it's really an interesting like experience for the senses to play one of these mobile games, and as long as you're the kind of person that gets like conned into spending money on these games, it's really bizarre. It's an exercise of like curiosity for me for the most part because I will never spend a penny on this game. If I do, the game will shatter my will somehow. If it does, I'll admit it, but it's never gonna happen. It just really, there's no game here. This is just designed to milk people out of money. There's no joy. There's no game. There's nothing. It's just a Skinner box.
I'm actually really excited to play the game now. I'm gonna download it with Donut in the post game. With that though, we are out of time, guys. Thank you for watching. Expect a full first look at Idle Heroes for next week, right, Omer?
Okay. I'm too embarrassed.
All right. Well, All right. Take care. Thank you for watching on
Take care
YouTube.
for YouTube, guys. Thanks for watching.